Hello everyone, welcome to Diplomatic Briefing. The 12th Beijing Xiangshan Forum has concluded. In addition to the official two-day conference, which attracted much attention, some of the remarks made by scholars and experts in the sub-forums are also worth noting. On the afternoon of September 17th, at the Dialogue on the Development and Governance of Artificial Intelligence Technology, former senior advisor to the Malaysian Prime Minister's Office and senior research fellow at the Asia-Pacific Belt and Road Joint Policy Institute,彭润Nian, said that if you are not from the United States or China, but from the Global South, your perspective on AI governance issues is completely different. From Malaysia's point of view, the global technological space is being squeezed, and a major threat is fragmentation, as well as threats in other areas. Malaysia, in particular, relies heavily on the markets of the United States and China and hopes that the two can be unified rather than divided. This concern is becoming increasingly important. He believes that the fundamental issue of AI governance is the international order, and that it is necessary to introduce the concept of AI sovereignty. In the information and data industries, Europe has absolutely no hegemony, so without China in terms of AI sovereignty, it would be complete American hegemony at present in the AI field. With two powerful players for other countries in the world, especially the Global South, there are two visions. One is the rough vision proposed by the United States. It's the high-profile exposure of CEOs, almost like a kind of faith, creating a new myth or a new demon. Many CEOs are engaged in financial speculation. They are already global leaders in this area. But China is completely different. Earlier this year, there was a low-interest moment, which was a huge shock. And recently, China released a very important document about its vision for AI, which is entirely based on society, viewing AI first and foremost as a tool for innovation and development. In China, people do not see it as either a myth, an all-powerful force, or a demonic tool. It is simply an empowering tool to be used by people. In the end,彭润emphasized the importance of sovereignty. He said that when it comes to artificial intelligence, your data ownership, technological capability ownership, governance rights, and other aspects all belong to a comprehensive concept, which is the concept of sovereignty. These factors are necessary for every country to develop, and China did not achieve such accomplishments overnight. Everyone discusses this. Many feel China's tech development happened suddenly. However, he believes that for decisions on developing local strategic capabilities, especially technological ones, China has been a world-class, outstanding strategic decision-maker since the 1950s. A former senior official from Malaysia expressed the feelings of many developing countries. If it were not for China's rise, developing countries like Malaysia would have to pay exorbitant prices just to access a small amount of American AI products. All along, the United States has maintained hegemony in many fields, such as the military, aerospace, computer software, social media platforms, and so on, when there is also financial hegemony. The rise of China has indeed provided developing countries with another option, and the services and public goods that China offers represent development rather than confrontation. On September 18th, the New York Times published a report that included some emotional descriptions. The article said that where American bombs once fell, Chinese wind turbines now stand. The report covered the largest wind power project in Southeast Asia, the Monsoon Wind Power Project in Laos, built by Chinese companies. The article pointed out that China has already become the world's largest producer and exporter of renewable energy technology. Its scale far surpasses that of other countries. With the massive export of affordable Chinese green technology, developing countries have significantly reduced global carbon emissions, making a tremendous contribution to achieving global emission reduction targets. The Monsoon Wind Power Project in Laos, built by Power Construction Corporation of China, abbreviated as Power China, is the largest wind power project in Southeast Asia. It is located in southern Laos, in Sekong Province and Attapeu Province, with a total installed capacity of 600 megawatts. As Laos's first wind power project, it includes 133 wind turbines, 5 booster stations, and a 500 kilovolt transmission line. Over its entire life cycle, the project is expected to reduce carbon emissions by 35 million tons, helping Laos achieve its strategic goal of becoming the battery of Southeast Asia. On a remote ridge in southeastern Laos, a massive white blade emerges from the clouds, appearing to float in mid-air. The blade rises to a height equivalent to a 50-story building, towering more than 180 meters above the nearby cluster of wooden houses, and then rotates up into the clouds. This is how the report describes it. It says this is not the first time local residents have seen powerful new technology above their isolated homes. More than half a century ago, during the Vietnam War, American warplanes dropped millions of pounds of bombs in this area. Many of the stilt houses there still use American bomb casings as pillars. More than 50 years later, unexploded ordnance left by the Americans during the war is still being cleared, but this year, the U.S. Agency for International Development has cancelled funding for such demining projects. Now, the arrival of China's wind power project has created new job opportunities for the local residents. The project allocates more than $100,000 each year to a community development fund, providing scholarships, teaching villagers how to grow coffee, installing solar panels in remote villages, and even converting the main camp into a training center. A young woman in her early 20s runs a small grocery store. She is a local university student. After graduation, she might go to work in a bigger town, but for now, she has a much simpler wish. After meeting some Chinese engineers and witnessing PowerChina bringing cutting-edge technology to this underdeveloped highland, she became eager to learn Chinese. Reports say that although this project is not particularly prominent in China's clean energy revolution, it reveals how China is leading the global renewable energy trade. According to statistics from the International Energy Agency, China, in 2024, China's investment in clean technology reached $625 billion, driving an astonishing transformation. China produces about 2/3 of the world's electric vehicles, over 60% of wind turbines, and more than 85% of battery capacity. The International Energy Agency predicts that in 10 years, China's annual exports of clean energy technology will reach $340 billion, which is equivalent to the current combined oil exports of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. At the same time, another global power, the United States, is taking the opposite approach, abandoning support for wind energy, solar energy, and electric vehicles. The Trump administration's America First policy has cut subsidies for all three, while China is strengthening its dominance over nearly every segment of the renewable energy supply chain. McBride, a clean energy expert at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, says that the clean energy sector is undergoing dramatic changes, pointing directly to the core of the US-China great power competition. The United States is doubling down on its position as the world's largest producer and exporter of oil and natural gas, while China is expanding its strength as a future manufacturer and exporter of clean energy technologies. He predicts that in 3 years, Chinese products will enter new countries at a speed and scale we have never seen before. According to reports, while low-cost Chinese green technologies are reaching almost every corner of the world, stylish Chinese electric vehicles are also emerging. On the streets of Bangkok, São Paulo, and Addis Ababa in Africa, Chinese-made solar panels cover the sun-drenched cities of Pakistan, and wind farms equipped with Chinese turbines are spread across the 4,000-meter high plateaus of Argentina, the Bosnian coast, and the plains of Kenya, not to mention the highlands of southeastern Laos. Finnish Energy and Miwerta, the chief analyst at the Finnish Center for Clean Air and Energy Research, said that last year, China exported clean energy technology to 191 out of the 192 United Nations member states, excluding itself. These exports are powerfully driving global emissions reductions. According to Miwerta's calculations, in 2024, China's clean energy exports alone will reduce carbon emissions in regions outside of China by 1%. In other words, the rapid expansion of China's clean energy exports will prevent 220 million tons of carbon emissions, which is equivalent to the annual emissions of 50 million gasoline-powered cars. The report says that 25 years ago, the pillars of China's export economy were still the traditional trio of clothing, furniture, and home appliances. Now, there is a new trio: solar panels, electric vehicles, and lithium batteries, and in the future, wind turbines may also be added. China's initial interest in clean energy was to hedge against its heavy dependence on oil. But as early as 2010, Chinese leaders and scholars realized that clean energy represented a once-in-a-generation opportunity for economic growth, geopolitical influence, and energy security. One scholar once said that, historically, countries that were the first to develop new energy technologies often managed to change the global balance of power. Maverta noted that over the past 4 years, developing countries have driven a 70% increase in China's exports of solar energy, wind energy, and electric vehicles. Nearly half of China's solar, wind, and electric vehicle exports are destined for developing countries. This is the first time in history. Professor Lewis from Georgetown University in the United States said that China has a tremendous opportunity to play a greater role in the low-carbon energy transition of the global south, not just by exporting solar, wind, and other technologies, but by helping these countries build their own green industries and by sharing the model of China's own green industrial policies. However, while acknowledging China's clean energy technologies, the New York Times article also follows the usual playbook of Western politicians, subtly suggesting that China is trying to exert geopolitical influence through green technology and hyping up debt issues. To sum up a few observations, first, the United States and even the European Union, following America's lead, are both trying to suppress China's green industries. The development of the industry is not only about building self-sufficient walls, but it also slows down global green and low-carbon progress. New energy experts around the world have all recognized China's contribution to global renewable energy. No matter how the West tries to restrict or obstruct, it's just about developing independently. Perhaps one day an American farmer will still be driving a smoke-belching diesel tractor to plant potatoes, while young people in the mountains of Laos will be using wind power to develop new AI applications on their computers. What once seemed unimaginable is now becoming reality. In this kind of scenario, overtaking on the curve can happen at any moment. Secondly, although the New York Times had to follow the Western mainstream in hyping up the so-called debt issue, the article still objectively touched a nerve among the rational elites in the West. It feels helpless as it watches China become the global leader in the green sector. Thirdly, although the article devoted a lot of space to discussing the global new energy landscape, there is actually a core issue. Why is it that for people in the mountainous regions of Laos, America is remembered only for its destructive bombs, while China represents a beacon of hope and a potential path forward? If the Western world does not deeply and critically reflect on this